It was one of the most controversial policies of the Trump presidency, the decision to forcibly separate migrant children from their parents if they attempted to cross into the U.S. The Trump administration then struggled to reunite some 3,000 affected families for months. But now the fallout from the policy has fallen in the lap of the Biden administration. More than 80 families are seeking financial compensation for alleged trauma inflicted by those separations. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins us now for more. Camilo, welcome. Family members have spoken with the United States about possible reparations, but those talks then collapsed. Why did that happen?
That's right, Robert. Last year, the Biden administration agreed to negotiate with lawyers for migrant families who are asking for reparations because of the trauma that they said they suffered after being separated along the U.S.-Mexico border under the Trump administration. But then we saw reports surface that one of the payouts being considered was $450,000 per family member. That was one of the payouts being considered as part of these settlement talks, and that triggered this intense backlash, Robert, from Republicans and some members of the public who said that the U.S. should not be in the business of giving money to migrants who cross the U.S.-Mexico border without legal permission. The Biden administration, after those reports surfaced, ended those settlement talks, but the Justice Department did leave open the possibility of settling on an individual basis cases with these families and said it was committed to bringing justice to parents and children who were affected by this, quote, abhorrent policy. However, we reviewed dozens of court filings and interviewed multiple attorneys, Robert, and we found that the Justice Department is currently actively trying to dismiss lawsuits filed by families seeking these reparations over these Trump-era separations at the border. And the Justice Department is arguing that these families are not entitled to monetary compensation, partly because they argue that border officials have broad discretion to process migrants, including by detaining parents and children separately. And so advocates believe that these efforts are inconsistent with how strongly the Biden administration has denounced this policy. I think you can recall, Robert, back in 2020 during a presidential debate with former President Trump, President Biden called this policy criminal.
He did. Beyond the possibility of monetary compensation, has anything been done to these families to help them from the Biden administration side?
Yes, indeed. Early on, the Biden administration created this task force led by the Department of Homeland Security to reunite families who were separated along the U.S.-Mexico border by the Trump administration. So far, this DHS-led task force has reunited more than 200 children with their parents. It has also identified an additional 400 children who are now in the pipeline to be reunited. Unlike the Trump administration, Robert, the Biden administration is allowing these families to reunite here on American soil because it is allowing parents who were deported to Central America and other places without their children to come back here to the U.S. to reunite with their children, and it is granting them a temporary legal status known as parole. But despite these efforts, Robert, we know that there are an estimated 1,000 children who remain separated from their families as a result of this policy back in the Trump administration.
What about those reparation lawsuits? How long could those take to be settled?
That's a key question. We know that suing the federal government is not an easy task. It is costly, it is time-consuming. And so the families who have been able to file lawsuits in federal court, 22 of these federal court lawsuits have been filed so far, have been able to do so because they found pro bono lawyers. We know that these cases take time. The first of these cases were filed back in 2019, and none of them have been resolved yet. And so now I think that illustrates, Robert, that these families will face an uphill battle in getting compensation unless the Biden administration agrees to restart these settlement talks to try to figure out if it will give compensation to these families.
You are on top of this story, as you are on so many. Thank you so much for your time. Camilo Montoya-Galvez, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert.